would never be a factor. Now I'm laughing at Benihana's with benefactors. Sell my soul for an artist loft with them giant raptors. My chef cooking that steak and lobster on giant platters.
What up, Internet? Welcome to another episode of Deliberate Marketing. My name is Drew Susi. For those of you that don't know me, I am the proprietor of a digital marketing agency called DS Media here in the greater New England area. Over the last 5 years, myself and my team have assisted way over 100 businesses, ranging from influencers and e-commerce to brick and mortar and blue collar with their branding, marketing, and advertising. We have generated somewhere in the ballpark of 10,000 pieces of content for those variety of businesses. Our overall impressions for our clients ranges well above 50 million. Our current clientele averages somewhere in the ballpark of 3 to 5 million organic views per month. That is not including any of our paid advertising. So, to say the least, we know a little thing or two about digital marketing. Now, the point of this show, Deliberate Marketing, is to give you actionable items that will help you grow your business. Or, at the very least, keep you away from the hacks and quacks that are in my industry that are just looking to separate you from your hard-earned dollars. It's as simple as that. Today's episode, I want to talk about, this is actually probably one of the most important ones that I'm going to put together, and I'm actually surprised I waited until episode 5 or whatever this is to talk about it. This actually could have been episode 1. It's that important. We are going to talk about storytelling in marketing. The importance of storytelling and the narrative arc within marketing. This is an incredibly important concept. Honestly, if this was the only thing that you guys ever fucking took away from this show, this would be enough to build a very significant business. People do not remember facts. They remember stories. They remember stories. If you want somebody to remember something, you tell them a story. It's as simple as that. Humans think in stories, right? The narrative is how we process meaning. It's how we process emotion. It's an easier way for us to remember information in a world that has inundated us with facts. We live in an age where information is so readily available, so readily available that we've completely discounted it. A great example is I have multiple employees that are Gen Z and below, right? I cannot get them to remember a fucking thing because all of them have been completely trained to just know that if they need an answer to something, they can either go to Google or they can go to ChatGPT. We have completely discounted the concept of knowledge and facts and information, right? But if I tell them a story and I get a point across that way, guess what? All of a sudden, that information becomes actionable, right? Now, this is incredibly important to marketing your brand, your business, right? If you want people to remember you, you need to tell them a story. But what story you tell them is probably the most important part of all. You need to tell them something that they resonate with, that they remember, right? And a brand without a story entirely for a customer to consume is just a commodity. There's nothing to it, right? We live in an age of commoditization. In the same way that we were just talking about facts and information, right? We don't remember them because there's just so much of it readily available to us. That's true for most consumer packaged goods nowadays. It's true for most services. I mean, fucking A. Great example is digital marketing, actually. My agency, we are a dime a fucking dozen. That's part of the reason why I'm doing this show is I'm trying to differentiate the fakes from the real ones, right? Because there are just so many of them out there. The service has become commoditized. And so the only true differentiation that any of us can offer is a brand identity, is the story around ours, right? People do not patronize DS Media because they think we offer a far superior product to so-and-so down the fucking street from us. They patronize our business. They come to us and they trust us because they have seen the story that we have painted of our business. They know either myself or one of my team members, and they trust us because they know the story of how we got to where we are, right? The brand story, the brand identity, who we are, right? They come to us because they like our attitude. They like how we carry ourselves. They like they like our ideation process. They like something associated with how we go about the thing that we do. They're not coming to us because of the thing that we do. They're coming to us because of how we do it, right? That is the story. You need to tell a story to your customer base. That's how you get them in. We live in an age of commoditization, right? Sell somebody on the story of something. Don't sell them on the something. This actually goes into creating an offer as well, but we'll cover offers another time, probably more in depth. The easiest way for you to understand how to put together a story is to consider the hero's journey, okay? And there's actually a great book about this. Oh, I'm blanking on the author's name, but it's called Building a Story Brand. And basically it paints the picture of there is an individual, which in our case is the customer or the client, has a problem, which would be the dragon they need to slay, or whatever you want to say in the story, right? If they're the hero. They come across a problem that they've got to fix. And now they've got to go through a journey to figure out how to kill that dragon, or whatever their goal is in that little story there, right? Along the way, they're going to meet a guide, right? Who's going to show them all the things that they need to do in order to slay that dragon or whatever. That's the business. That's your business. That's your brand. That's where you come into the story. And so one of the biggest reframes business owners need to do is they need to stop thinking about themselves as the hero in the story. You are not the hero. You are not the individual. You're not that guy, for lack of a better way to put it. You are the guide that is helping the hero. The hero is the customer. You are the individual that is assisting the hero. You are the sidekick, right? You are the Samwise Gamgee. I can't believe I just referenced Lord of the Rings. My girlfriend is going to lose her mind. I hate Lord of the Rings. She loves it. But you are the guide, right? And you are the one that is assisting on their journey. You are not the hero. You are not the one. You are not the charismatic individual bringing in hordes of people paying attention to you that are saying, oh, hey, help me with this, da-da-da-da-da-da. No. Your customer, your client is the hero. They are the one going through their journey. You are the one that is going to show up on their journey, and you are going to walk them through the process of what they need to do in order to accomplish the thing that they want to do, right? You are going to teach them how to, kill the dragon, or I'll use the Lord of the Rings reference again. In this case, you would be the Gandalf teaching Frodo how to, where to throw the fucking ring into, Mount Doom, right? Mount Scary, whatever. That's you on that journey, right? Your customer, your client is the Frodo. They've got the thing that they need done. They need your help doing it. That's where you play. That's the role you play in that story. The main thing to focus on in that story is problem, struggle, solution, and the transformation that happens from that. Without conflict, without stakes, without a this versus that, without some sense of, what is it? Loss aversion from the previous episode, what we were talking about with attention triggers, nobody's going to care about what you're selling, what you're serving, right? If you can tell a story of, I have X problem, I'm going to solve X problem by doing Y happens to be difficult, Y was made easier with the inclusion of a guide, or in your case, a business, that then gave me the solution. The transformation that happened from that is the payoff that everybody's looking for. That is storytelling. Now, that's storytelling from a brand standpoint, right? That is positioning your product. That is saying, hey, we are the solution to the problem that you're having over here. This is the this, that, the other, yada, yada, right? How do we use storytelling in content? That's pretty simple if it's a day in the life or something like that, like a simple piece of entertaining content. You tell the story, right? But where a lot of people lose people is putting together educational content, content highlighting expertise, a variety of material in that realm that does not tell a story, posit a story properly. They do not posit a question at the beginning and then offer a payoff at the end. Storytelling is how you keep people paying attention to content. That's how you get them. That hook, the hook that you need to offer people in the first 3 seconds, should posit a problem in some capacity that will then be solved by the end of the piece of content, whether that's scrolling through a carousel or watching a reel. The problem that you present can come in a variety of different forms. I mean, you can do a whole bunch of different shit with this, right? I mean, you can, like, the sky's the limit on that one, honestly. But in the first 3 seconds, you have to posit some kind of a problem that will be solved by the end of the piece of content that you're watching, right? Whether that's learning about 3 mistakes people make when they call up marketing agencies. Well, there's the problem. People are making mistakes when they call up marketing agencies, right? And then the journey that people are going to go through with you while watching that piece of content is the explanation of the 3 pieces, right? And then they get to the end and they go, oh, now I feel better off. Now I feel more prepared for the next time I go on that journey, right? Of calling up a marketing agency and saying, hey, how can you help me? That is a journey. That is storytelling. That is a narrative arc. That is the difference between content and good content. Good content tells a story. Good content offers a payoff at the end. Storytelling is the number one thing that will make the biggest difference between your content just kind of being out there in the world and actually converting, engaging, creating new audiences. A great example of how not to do it is it's the posts that I pick on all the time. It's the, hey, we're closed for business today on, fucking yada yada day because so and so won't be here. Where's the story in that? I didn't have a problem with you not being open at all. There was no problem there. There was nothing presented. It was just a flat statement of fact, right? Which is why it gets scrolled by, which is why nobody cares. It was not relevant information to anybody. If you tell them a story, on the other hand, about something that's related to your business, that's how you keep top of mind awareness, right? A great example that I believe I've used previously is telling somebody, let's say you create a product that saves lives, right? Let's say you created an indestructible carabiner for rock climbers. I don't know a fucking thing about rock climbing, so I apologize in advance for any rock climbers that are listening to this. But let's say you created a carbon fiber composite, whatever, something carabiner that is absolutely indestructible. It is indestructible, right? Telling people that that is the safest object they could possibly own does nothing. Like, if you go up to a rock climber and say, hey, you want this, this thing will save your life. They're going to go, I've already got a carabiner. Like, I've got carabiners all on my little rigging and shit. Like, what the fuck do I need that one for? I've already got them, right? However, if you go up to them and say, hey, check this thing out. My buddy Teddy, he was out climbing fucking Katahdin. I don't think Katahdin's even tall enough to fucking fall from. I don't know. McKinley. My buddy was out climbing McKinley, right? And he got to the top. And out of nowhere, a piece of rock came loose and came flying down and smashed his rigging on the side of the cliff face or whatever. And I swear, anybody else's little hook thing would have been completely busted. Look at this thing. It's completely unfazed. It's barely got a scratch on it. It hit 1,200 pounds of rock at 60 miles an hour, and nothing happened to it. And he just stayed suspended in air, like 300 feet up or whatever. It probably saved his life. All of a sudden, your buddy is like, holy shit, I need what Teddy has. Teddy was saved by that little carabiner right there. That's amazing. That story right there sells so much more than this does this. You can do the same thing for any product, any service. Storytelling. That is how you get people to buy. Think about a restaurant, right? Come try our delicious food. Nobody fucking cares. Nobody cares. At least here in the greater Portland area, I mean, dude, the restaurants are a dime a dozen. There are way too many. And half of them aren't even good enough to stay open, in my opinion. But if one of those restaurants decided that they needed more customers and started telling the story of Thursday night date night between the older couple that lives up in Freeport that needs an evening away, and they came in and they enjoyed this lovely ambiance of this cafe, and they sat down, and the menu surprisingly had an item that they had on their honeymoon 30 years ago, and they couldn't believe it. And it didn't taste the same, but it reminded them of such a great time that they had at that place. And now they want to come back to the cafe because, well, it reminds them of it gives them a little bit of nostalgia. It reminds them of yesteryear. It gave them a great little date night. They had a great time. They shared a bottle of wine. They shared a couple of apps. They had a blast, right? Isn't that so much more convincing? Isn't that so much easier to listen to? Like, you walk by that place, and the first person heard, oh yeah, go to this place, we have appetizers and wine. You're going to be like, all right, this is every other fucking restaurant around here. But then if you're walking by and person B is like, hey, did you hear about that couple that went in there and they got that same dish that they got on their honeymoon like 30 years prior? They said it sounded pretty cool. Like, it looked like they had a great time. Why don't we go there for our date night? All of a sudden you're like, fuck yeah, I want to go try that place, right? That is storytelling in action. And I'm serious, you can do it with any product, any service. It's why testimonials are so powerful. Testimonials are storytelling in real life. Testimonials are the number one story that you could possibly tell. It's social proof, right? It's somebody else telling a story on your behalf. They are telling the hero's journey that they went through. See how that comes back around? I had a problem. I called up so-and-so. They showed up. They unfucked my this and that. Could not recommend them more because they did this, that, and the other that made the journey, the process, the service so much more enjoyable than anything else I have previously experienced. That's a story. You understand how this game is played now? Storytelling. I'm telling you, this is the number one thing. This is the difference. If you can get this down, think about positing your product to people in the form of a story. What can you tell them? What kind of a story can you tell them about what you're selling, what you're offering, that will make them remember it? It can be good, it can be bad. It can be, hey, I saved somebody from this. Or it can be, hey, I had an amazing time because of this. It can be any of those things. It just has to be a story. Don't get hung up on details. Don't get hung up on the spec sheet. This is a huge okay, all right. This is a big one that I have to go into with fucking male business owners. You guys fucking suck at this, and it drives me nuts. Like, you want to talk about something that female business owners have down fucking pat that men need a ton of help with, is focusing on the story instead of focusing on the features. Okay? Let's take a car dealership as an example. If I pull up and I get read a fucking spec sheet on a Volvo wagon for my girlfriend, do you know how fucking bored I'm going to be? Do you think I couldn't pull that up on Google already? I either know all the specs because I looked them up myself, because guess what? I'm a man, or I didn't fucking care in the first place. Tell me a story about that car. Make me picture something. Like, tell me a story about how, somebody else's oblivious girlfriend her life was saved because she drove a Volvo, and if she was driving her 2005 Toyota Corolla, Laura, I am calling you out on this, please, for the love of God, let's get you a new car. If she was driving a little Corolla or something like that, she would have been fucking pancaked. But because she was driving a Volvo wagon, guess what? Her dog in the back survived. She survived. She didn't even have a scratch on her. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh man, yeah, that's right. Volvos are like some of the safest cars you could possibly buy, right? And I'm always scared about my girlfriend driving around in her little tin can of a Corolla. Man, maybe I should buy her a Volvo. Tell a story. Like I said, the experience, the stories, that is something that female business owners have down fucking pat. They do such a great job with this shit. They talk about so-and-so who came into their business and was experiencing this kind of pain, and then all of a sudden they were relieved by this, that, and the other. The massage therapist, physical therapist, aesthetics, makeup, whatever, you name it. They're all great at telling stories. They tell the story of how so-and-so came into them and they had this problem, and then all of a sudden it was solved by them because they did their little service thing or whatever. Nutrition, whatever it happens to be. You know, decor, contract, I don't fucking know, anything. They all do it better than men do it. Because the men, as soon as they show up, great example is the trades in general, right? I've run into a couple fucking plumbers like this, right? They come into your space and they're like, oh yeah, you need a quarter bit fucking, yeah, you're going to need a half-inch bit of conduit in there to get the fucking pipe to, you probably need a little extended here. I don't care. I don't care. I called you. That's the information that I expect you to know. I don't need to know the specs on the stuff that's going in under my sink. I called you because I don't have the time to do it myself. Otherwise, I would have done it myself. Don't focus on the specs because you can't sell somebody else on that. You know? Again, to use the car example, like nobody has decided on the difference between, let's say, let's go to the Ford Chevy. Ford Chevy's the easiest one. Nobody has decided on the difference between a Mustang and a Corvette because of the fucking spec sheet. Nobody. Absolutely nobody. Nobody has lined them up side by side and said, I want a Corvette because it's got a better 0 to 60 than the comparable Mustang GT. Nobody. Absolutely nobody has ever done that. You know what they've done? They've thought about what they look like driving either of those cars, telling a story. They've thought about what they're going to look like pulling up to their significant other in that car. They've thought about what they're going to look like pulling up to their coworkers. They've thought about how they're going to explain the payments or the gigantic cash withdrawal from their bank to their significant other. You notice all of those are not, it has nothing to do with the specs of the car. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. They're thinking about the narrative in their head of how much better or how much different their life is going to be as soon as they get behind the wheel of one or the other. They're thinking about how they look. They're thinking about how they feel driving either of those. That has nothing to do with twin cam versus single overhead cam. Has nothing to do with, the LS versus the Coyote. Has fucking nothing to do with that. Nothing. It has everything to do with the experience that they have with the product, which is a story. Learn to tell a story. You will sell so many more products. You will book so many more services. I promise. Learn to tell a story. Hey, so-and-so down the street, I heard he was dealing with this, and I went in to help him with this, and look at all the stuff that he was dealing with. You know how we fixed that? We did this, that, and the other thing. And all of a sudden, look at how much happier that guy is. He feels fucking great. Storytelling. That's the trick. That is the trick. I'm going to leave it at that because I feel like I've been yelling for this episode. I feel like I got a little bit hyped on this one. Like I said, this is one of the most important parts of marketing and advertising in general, not just digital marketing. This is marketing and advertising in general. Make people feel things. Tell them stories. Forget the facts. The facts are for you. The facts tell you how you're going to do your job, how your product works, yada, yada, yada. Nobody cares about that at first. Give them an experience, allow them to make a decision off of the proposed experience that they're going to have, and then they will rationalize that experience later using the facts, the information, the specs that you give them. That's it. That's the whole game. If you guys found this useful, do me a favor. Follow me on any platform that you happen to be using at probably Drew Susie. I can be found at that moniker. Any platform that I'm available on, I can be found at that moniker. Do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe on this video or this podcast episode if you found this useful. And in the meantime, do me a favor, go out, get some new customers, build a good business. Put some more good out in the world. I'll see you guys in the next one.